Hey everybody, welcome to Brickball. My name is Jack, and today we are taking a look at every single Mr. Freeze minifigure ever made. He's one of the most beloved villains within the Batman franchise, and LEGO has done a variety of different versions of this guy throughout the years. And I think because he is kind of one of the more notable villains, he's actually pretty collectible. The very first one came out in 2006 and appeared in 2 sets. The most notable one was the Batcave, the Penguin, and Mr. Freeze's Invasion. A couple years after that, the minifig also appeared in Batman's Buggy, The Escape of Mr. Freeze, and though the detailing on this minifigure is relatively simple by all standards, it's his rarity that really brings his price up. He is about $50 in the States, and really I think the only thing exclusive about him might be the printing for his face, which is honestly the best part. I think this is really close to what we get from the comic book series as well as the animated TV series, which is a personal favorite of mine. The glass dome around his head is the same mold that we've gotten from certain Alien collections in the past, and he's got a pretty nice build that makes up his freeze gun that attaches to the bodysuit around his chest. Very awesome fig, but let's jump up to the next guy. He came out 7 years later in 2013. This Mr. Freeze, you can see, has detailing on the front and back of the torso piece, but just printing there and nowhere else, which is kind of odd because the only place that has printing ends up getting covered up by his suit. This is pretty much a normal astronaut suit that was released around the time, just colored in this sort of nice kind of light blue, and the build for his freeze gun is kind of one of those ray gun pieces with a lot of extra add-ons. That is definitely a good theme that kind of travels throughout this minifigure series. He is the second cheapest Mr. Freeze in the collection, coming in at around $12, which is still pretty expensive. And by the way, this Mr. Freeze appeared in the set Arctic Batman vs. Mr. Freeze, Aquaman on Ice. Now this next guy that came out 3 years later is probably the most collectible, and what I mean by that is he came out in a really collectible set. This Mr. Freeze was from the Batman Classic TV series, but really this guy only came in a special polybag and not the actual set itself. I'm pretty sure you could only get it with like a purchase of $75 or more, and because this promotion was relatively recent, you can still get them for around $10 right now, but this is a minifigure definitely projected to be much more expensive in the future. You might have noticed that the detailing is supposed to match that of what Mr. Freeze looked like in the classic TV series, a very sort of over-the-top Russian character, and also the build that makes up his gun and pack on his back is very sort of cartoony and sort of blown out. It's very fitting for the particular art style of the 1960s series, and I personally love the way this guy looks. Now when we move on to 2017, there are 2 minifigs released now. This first one actually came from a Juniors set. Sometimes these guys can be pretty collectible in the future. Right now he's around $9, and we get something interesting with the detailing because the face looks like it is very similar to that of what we got from the original Mr. Freeze. So the detailing is a bit closer to what we get from the comic book series, and also just like the same Mr. Freeze that had sort of the same suit piece used over the top, he only has printing on his torso, and that gets covered up pretty easily. He's got an extremely sort of overly simple build that makes up his freeze gun, and I think his most unique feature is the lavender hands. And alright, here is the last guy from 2017. This is Mr. Freeze from the LEGO Batman movie. There's a lot of things to like about this Mr. Freeze. First off, the detailing on his torso matches up well with the detailing on his legs, and it's not so covered up by the particular armor piece that they're using. I believe this armor piece is molded in this color for the first time. It's got a special print on the front, and they finally got the dome for the head to actually look, I think, the way it's supposed to. He appeared in the set Mr. Freeze Ice Attack, and in the set he actually came with sort of this big power armor suit, and that is the reason why his freeze gun is just so gigantic and ridiculously big. It's really meant to be held by a robot that's a bit bigger than this guy. Nevertheless, it's got a lot of gizmos and gadgets sort of hanging off the side, and because this is such a recent set that is relatively cheap and still on the shelves right now, this Mr. Freeze minifigure is roughly worth $4. Anyways, here are all 5 of them together here at the end, and I hope this video was helpful for anybody that was curious. Anyways, that's the end of this episode. If you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe, and if you've got any ideas about another little mini LEGO collection video you want to see in the future, like a character or something like that, let me know in the comment section below. Alright, that's it. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time at Brick Vault.